Have you ever walked into a job interview and suddenly forgotten every English sentence you practiced at home? Trust me, you are not alone.
That nervous feeling happens to so many people, James. Sometimes your hands shake, your mind goes blank, and even simple questions suddenly feel difficult.
Exactly. You practice perfectly in your room, but the moment the interviewer says, "Tell me about yourself," your brain just disappears.
Yes, and then people start giving strange answers, like talking about their favorite pizza or their pet cat instead of their work experience.
Hey, my cat is very important, Zoe. Maybe the company should know about him too.
Maybe later, James. But in a real interview, employers want to hear about your skills, your experience, and your personality at work.
So today, we are going to help everyone sound more confident and professional in English interviews, right?
Exactly. Welcome back to Speak Like Leader, where we make English easy, natural, and fun for real-life situations.
And today's topic is incredibly important because a good interview can completely change someone's future.
That's true, James. A single conversation can open the door to someone's dream job, a better life, and more confidence in themselves.
But honestly, interviews can feel scary, especially when they happen in English instead of your native language.
Yes, many people understand English while studying, but speaking confidently during an interview is a completely different challenge.
Your heart beats faster, you worry about grammar mistakes, and suddenly even simple words become difficult to remember.
That's why today's lesson is going to help everyone prepare step by step in a very simple and practical way.
We're going to talk about the most common interview questions and show easy ways to answer them naturally.
And don't worry, everyone. You do not need perfect English to give a strong interview. You just need clear communication and confidence.
Really? So people don't need complicated vocabulary to impress the interviewer?
Not at all. Simple and clear English is often much better than using difficult words incorrectly.
That makes me feel better already, because sometimes I try to sound smart and end up confusing myself.
That happens to many learners, James. Confidence and clarity are much more important than trying to sound perfect.
So, what is usually the very first question in an interview? I think almost every interviewer asks the same thing.
Yes, the most common opening question is, "Tell me about yourself."
The famous question that makes everyone panic immediately.
Exactly. It sounds simple, but many people don't know where to begin or what information they should include.
Some people probably start talking about their hobbies, their childhood, or what they ate for breakfast.
And that's the mistake. In a job interview, your answer should focus mostly on your professional life and your strengths.
So instead of talking about my favorite movies, I should explain my experience, education, and work skills.
Perfect, James. A strong answer should be short, professional, positive, and connected to the job you want.
Wow, this already feels super helpful. I think our viewers are going to learn a lot from today's conversation.
I hope so, James. And everyone watching right now, stay with us until the end, because these simple interview tips could help you feel calmer, smarter, and much more confident in your next English interview.
Okay, Zoe, let's imagine the interviewer asks me, "Tell me about yourself." What would a strong and professional answer actually sound like in real life?
A good answer usually begins with a short introduction about your current work or studies. Then you mention your experience, your important skills, and finally explain why you are interested in this new opportunity.
So instead of speaking randomly for 5 minutes, I should organize my answer carefully and focus only on information that is useful for the company.
Exactly, James. Interviewers are not asking for your entire life story. They simply want to understand who you are professionally and why you could be valuable to their team.
So I could say something like, "I have worked in customer service for 3 years. I enjoy helping people, and I'm looking for a chance to grow professionally."
Yes, that's a very natural and confident answer because it sounds clear, positive, and focused on your career goals instead of personal details that are not related to the job.
Good, because I was honestly ready to tell the interviewer about my weekend fishing trips and my favorite spicy noodles.
Save those stories for lunch breaks with your future coworkers, James. During the interview, every sentence should help show your value as an employee.
That actually makes a lot of sense because the interviewer probably speaks with many candidates in one day and wants answers that are clear and professional.
Absolutely. A strong first impression is very important because the first few minutes of an interview often affect how the interviewer feels about you for the rest of the conversation.
Wow, so even the way we introduce ourselves can completely change the atmosphere of the interview from the beginning.
Yes, and that is why preparation matters so much. When you practice your introduction before the interview, you sound calmer, more confident, and much easier to understand.
Okay, now let's talk about another question that sounds simple but can actually feel difficult. Why do you want to work here?
That question is very important because companies want to know if you truly care about their business or if you are just applying everywhere without interest.
So saying, I need money to pay my bills is probably not the smartest answer, even if it's true for almost everyone.
Exactly, James. Interviewers already know people work for money, but they also want to hear enthusiasm, motivation, and genuine interest in the company itself.
That means I should learn something about the company before the interview instead of walking in completely unprepared.
Yes, spending even 15 minutes researching the company website can help you sound much more professional and serious during the interview.
So I could mention their goals, their products, or maybe something impressive the company recently achieved.
That's perfect. You can also connect the company's values with your own interests by explaining why their work feels meaningful or exciting to you personally. So instead of giving a boring answer, I should create a connection between my goals and the company's mission or future plans.
Exactly. For example, if the company focuses on technology, education, or environmental protection, you can explain why those things matter to you.
I understand now. The interviewer wants to feel that I genuinely want this specific job and not just any random position available online.
Yes, because companies prefer candidates who are motivated and interested in growing with the organization for a long time.
Yes, because companies prefer candidates who are motivated and interested in growing with the organization for a long time.
Honestly, these small changes in answers already make interview responses sound much smarter and more professional.
And the best part is that these answers are still simple English, which makes them easier for learners to remember and use naturally.
That's important because nervous people forget difficult vocabulary very quickly during stressful situations.
Exactly, James. Simple language spoken confidently is always more powerful than complicated language spoken with fear and confusion.
I'm really enjoying this conversation because it feels less like studying grammar and more like learning real-life communication skills.
And that is exactly our goal on Speak Like Leader, helping people use English naturally in real situations so they can feel more confident, capable, and ready for opportunities in life.
Okay, Zoe, let's move to another question that almost every interviewer asks sooner or later. What are your strengths?
Yes, that question is extremely common because employers want to understand what qualities make you useful, reliable, and valuable in the workplace.
So this is basically my chance to talk proudly about the things I do well without sounding arrogant or overconfident.
Exactly, James. You should sound confident, but also honest and professional. The best answers are usually simple, realistic, and connected to the job you are applying for.
So instead of saying, I'm amazing at everything, I should focus on one or two strong qualities that truly match the position.
Yes, definitely. Interviewers usually prefer specific examples instead of exaggerated answers that sound unrealistic or unnatural.
I guess communication skills are a good strength for many different jobs because almost every workplace requires teamwork and interaction with people.
That's absolutely right. You can also mention being organized, responsible, creative, dependable, or good at solving problems under pressure.
Would it sound stronger if I explained my strengths with a real example instead of only saying a single sentence?
Yes, James. Real examples make your answer more believable because they show how you actually use your skills in real situations at work.
So I could say something like, I'm very organized, and in my previous job, I always completed important projects before the deadline.
Perfect! That answer sounds natural, professional, and much more convincing because it includes proof instead of only empty words.
I'm starting to notice something interesting, Zoe. Interviews are almost like storytelling because every answer needs a clear and positive message.
That's a very smart observation, James. The interviewer is listening carefully to understand your attitude, your personality, and the way you handle different situations.
Now let's talk about the question people fear the most. What are your weaknesses? Honestly, that question makes many people uncomfortable immediately.
Yes, because nobody enjoys talking about their flaws, especially during an important interview where they want to impress the company.
I imagine some people panic and accidentally say something that completely destroys their chances of getting the job.
Unfortunately, that happens sometimes. That's why it's important to choose your answer carefully and avoid weaknesses that are too damaging for the role.
So saying, I'm always late, I hate teamwork, and I avoid responsibility would be a complete disaster.
Yes, James, that would probably end the interview very quickly. The key is to mention a small weakness while also showing that you are actively improving it.
So the answer should show self-awareness and personal growth instead of making me sound careless or unprofessional.
Exactly. For example, you could say, I used to feel nervous speaking in meetings, but I've been practicing communication skills and becoming more confident.
That actually sounds smart because it turns a weakness into a story about improvement and effort instead of failure.
Yes, and employers usually appreciate people who are honest enough to recognize their weaknesses and motivated enough to improve themselves.
Another question that feels difficult is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Honestly, 5 years feels like a very long time.
It does feel long, but the interviewer mainly wants to know if you are ambitious, motivated, and serious about building a future in your career.
So they are not expecting me to predict my entire future perfectly. They just want to hear that I have goals and direction in life.
Exactly, James. A good answer usually includes professional growth, learning new skills, taking more responsibility, or contributing more to the company over time.
So I could say, in 5 years, I hope to become a valuable team member, continue learning, and grow into a leadership role.
That's an excellent answer because it sounds positive, ambitious, professional, and loyal to the company without sounding unrealistic or overly dramatic.
Zoe, there's another interview question that can feel very uncomfortable for many people. Why did you leave your last job?
Yes, James, and this is where many candidates make a big mistake because they become emotional and start complaining about their previous boss or workplace.
I can understand why people do that, especially if they had a stressful experience or problems with management at their old company.
That's true, but interviews are not the right place for negativity. Even if your past experience was difficult, your answer should still sound calm, respectful, and professional.
So instead of criticizing my old company, I should focus on the future opportunities and personal growth I'm looking for now.
Exactly. You can say things like, I'm looking for new challenges, or I want to develop my skills further in a different environment.
That sounds much more mature and professional because it keeps the conversation positive instead of creating uncomfortable tension.
Absolutely. Employers usually prefer candidates who remain respectful and professional even when discussing difficult experiences from the past.
Okay, now let's talk about another important question. Describe a challenge you faced at work and how you solved it.
This question is very important because it helps interviewers understand how you think, how you react under pressure, and how you solve real problems.
So this is where storytelling becomes very useful again, because I need to explain the situation, my actions, and the final result clearly.
Exactly, James. A strong answer should describe the problem briefly, explain the steps you took, and end with a positive outcome or lesson learned.
For example, I could talk about helping an angry customer by listening carefully, staying calm, and finding a solution that made the customer satisfied.
Perfect example. That answer shows communication skills, patience, professionalism, and problem-solving ability all at the same time.
I'm starting to realize that interviews are not really trying to trap people. Companies just want to understand how someone behaves in real situations.
That's exactly right. Interviews are simply conversations designed to help employers learn whether you would be a good fit for the company and the team.
Another question companies often ask is whether someone prefers working alone or as part of a team.
Yes, because teamwork is extremely important in most modern workplaces, where people constantly communicate, share ideas, and solve problems together.
So even if I enjoy working independently sometimes, I should still show that I can cooperate well with other people when necessary.
Exactly. A balanced answer works best. You can explain that you enjoy teamwork, but can also stay productive and focused when working alone.
Honestly, these interview answers are beginning to sound much easier now because every question follows the same basic idea. Stay positive, honest, and professional.
That's the secret, James. You do not need perfect English or perfect grammar. What matters most is confidence, preparation, and clear communication.
I think many people watching this conversation are probably feeling less nervous already, especially those preparing for an interview in English for the first time.
I truly hope so, because confidence grows step by step. The more you practice speaking out loud, the more natural and comfortable your answers will become.
So everyone watching right now, don't just read these answers silently. Practice them again and again until they start feeling natural in your mouth.
Yes, stand in front of a mirror, record your voice, practice with friends, and slowly build your confidence one sentence at a time.
And remember, making small mistakes during an interview is completely normal because interviewers care more about communication than absolute perfection.
Exactly. A positive attitude, polite behavior, and genuine confidence can leave a much stronger impression than speaking perfect grammar with no personality.
Thank you so much, everyone, for spending your time with us today on Speak Like Leader. We truly hope this conversation helps you feel more prepared for your future interviews and career opportunities.
And before we say goodbye, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Speak Like Leader, and share this lesson with anyone who wants to improve their English and build a brighter future.